Hello and welcome to today's video. I hope you're all safe and I hope you're all well. Today I am going to be making a sourdough chocolate cake, which I have created during lockdown using various recipes and muddling them together. So the ingredients that you're going to need for this are 230 grams of sourdough discard or starter, 230 grams of milk, 240 grams of plain flour, 300 grams of granulated sugar, 200 grams of vegetable oil, 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract, 1 teaspoon of salt, 1.5 teaspoons of bicarbonate of soda, 65 grams of cocoa powder and 2 eggs. We're also going to need to make a buttercream for the cake, and for that you're going to need 75 grams of milk chocolate, 150 grams of softened butter. It's really important that butter is softened, 300 grams of icing sugar, 4 tablespoons of cocoa powder and 2 tablespoons of milk. So to start with, you've got to make sure you've got your pinny on and your sleeves rolled up. Sorry.
So the first thing we're going to do is measure out 230 grams of sourdough starter or discard into a bowl. Adding to this the 230 grams of milk, and then adding the 240 grams of plain flour. Now it's really important that this flour is sifted into the bowl to ensure that there are no clumps or lumps. Combine gently to ensure that the mixture is smooth. Cover and let this rest at room temperature for at least 3 hours.
Hello, and here we are after 3 hours of letting the batter to rise. The first step we need to do for the second part of making the batter is preheat the oven. So the oven needs to be preheated to 170 degrees fan, and then you need to grease 2 9-inch sandwich tins with baking parchment at the bottom, preferably. Okay, so now your tin should be greased like this with baking parchment in the bottom. This is just ready for later. To start the next part of the batter, we need a second bowl.
In this bowl, mix together the 300 grams of granulated sugar, the 200 grams of vegetable oil, the 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract, the 1 teaspoon of salt, and the 1.5 teaspoon of bicarbonate of soda. Adding to this 65 grams of cocoa powder. Mix this until it's combined and it should be a grainy texture as shown. The next step is to add the 2 eggs. Add the eggs one at a time, ensuring that each one is thoroughly combined before adding the next. Then add the mixture that we'd previously let rest until it is smooth. This will be gloopy, but keep beating it gently. I didn't have my electric whisk due to being in lockdown, so I grabbed my alternative, which is Zag. Then measure out half of the batter equally into each cake tin. It is important that you have exactly half of the mixture, or as close to, in each tin to ensure an even rise. Then place this in the middle of the oven for 35 minutes until the cake springs back and a knife comes out clean when inserted. Remove the cakes from the oven and leave to cool.
Here I am the next day, so I let my cakes cool overnight, and by the time they cooled in the evening, it was too late to make the icing, so I wrapped them in cling film, and it's really important that you do that just to keep the cakes fresh before you ice them. So I'm going to be making the icing for the cakes, icing them and going through all that.
So the first step of making the buttercream is to melt the 75 grams of milk chocolate over a bain-marie, ensuring that the bowl does not touch the water so that the chocolate melts evenly and does not burn. Leave the chocolate to cool on the side while you prepare the cakes and the rest of the buttercream. To first prepare the cakes, you need to level them off using a sharp bread knife. And then to start with the buttercream, you must combine the softened butter making sure that it is softened so that the buttercream is not too oily and that the butter's not too lumpy, that it doesn't mix together. And sift in 300 grams of icing sugar. Sift in the 4 tablespoons of cocoa powder, pour in the melted chocolate, add the milk and mix until smooth. Add 2/3 of the buttercream to the middle portion of the cake. Then add the remaining 1/3 of the buttercream to the top of the cake and decorate as you wish. And here is your completed sourdough discard chocolate cake.
Thank you for watching today's video on my chocolate cake sourdough. I hope you can follow along and enjoy it like I'm about to. Stay safe and stay home. You can stop filming now.
How is it?